Welcome to episode 26 of the Tiger 700 project. In this episode, we're going to finish off the last 3 layers of the body structure. We'll start off with the fiberglass and polymer resin laminate, followed by the gel coat, and finally the auto body filler. So let's start with the fiberglass layer. On this project, I elected to use a dry layup method. And what that means is you lay out the fiberglass first and you tack it down before you apply the resin. And in this case, we are using a polymer style resin. You also have a key decision to make in this step, and that is whether you want to go for molded construction or moldless construction. Molded construction means you're building a buck to then add a mold on top of that, and then from that mold, you'll build the final body panels. Moldless method means that you are going to build the final body panels right here and now. In other words, what you would do is you would lay up the fiberglass and then remove all the layers underneath it, the joint compound, the foam, and all these other layers, and just use that as your final body panel. Now, I chose molded, and because of that, I decided to use very light fiberglass material. In fact, this is about as light as you can get. It's just 2-ounce material, very, very light. And that is just to make the overall buck strong enough so we could finish off the bodywork and take a mold from it. Now, if you really want to go for moldless, what you would want to do is use much heavier fiberglass and more layers of fiberglass. You'd probably use 6 to 8 ounce fiberglass and do probably 3 to 5 layers of fiberglass. Now, the one downside of doing a moldless method, where you're just going to use this body as is that the more layers that you put on top of the foam buck you just built, the more you're going to start losing details because the layer is going to get pretty thick, probably a good 1/8 of an inch or more thick. So just be thinking about that when you build your buck. I'm laying up my first piece of fiberglass. I thought I would start on this small piece. This is the cone that goes behind the driver. And I start off by carefully laying the fiberglass fabric down onto the plug, kind of draping it, getting all the wrinkles out of it, and trimming it around, giving it about 1 inch or so around the edges, and one little pleat here in the front, but a fairly simple shape. So then what I did was use some of this number 77 contact cement. And if you look on fiberglass supply sites, they have something they call tack. And that's just made to hold the fiberglass down while you're applying the resin. So I just used what adhesive I had laying around, some of the 77, and that seemed to work pretty well. So I laid down 1 layer of 2-ounce fiberglass. Now, 2 ounces is really thin. It's about as thin as you can find. It's about the level that people use on RC airplanes, remote control airplanes. So it's really thin, but all I'm really trying to do is get a skin. I've got a fairly solid base underneath with the foam, and I think that's going to make it hard enough. So I did that with 1 layer of 2 ounce, and then repeated the step of draping it over, pulling out all the pleats and the creases, and then putting a little bit of tack down, and then laying the fiberglass back down so it is steady, you might say. So once I start applying the resin, it won't move around on me as much. I've got the fiberglass laid up now. That's 2 layers of 2-ounce cloth. And I laid it in very carefully, 1 layer at a time, using some contact cement to ensure the cloth adheres well to the body and I won't have problems with wrinkles or any gaps or overlaps coming up, because I really wanted to follow very, very closely to the body profile, because I'll be doing the body filler over this. So it's laid up on this one side. You'll see I've also got it up on jacks. I don't know if you can tell in this picture, but it's leaning way over. And that's so I get a little bit of help from gravity to lay the cloth, and then I'll be putting on the polyester resin on here shortly. You are probably going to use multiple sheets of fiberglass to cover your entire panel. So you need to think about how those sheets are going to meet or butt up against one another. Now, particularly when you're building a body shape like this, you want a nice flat surface, even at the seams. So there's one little detail here you want to think about. So the top diagram here shows how you would butt up the fiberglass sheets together, not overlapping them. And not only do you not want to overlap them, but you want to stagger the joints, not put one seam on top of another. And you do that just to retain the strength of both sheets. So if you look at the two blue lines there in the top diagram, that's how you'd lay them out and butt them together. Now the worst case down below here is the incorrect method I'm showing, and that's where you've not only overlapped them, but you've put the seams right on top of the other. And you can see instead of having a very consistent 2-layer laminate, now when your seams meet, it's 4 layers. Now, this isn't the end of the world, but it means you're going to have to do a lot more body work and filler to make that look right. So just do the upper diagram here, just butt and overlap your joints, and you'll have a very smooth finish. Now that the fiberglass step is completed, we can move on to the gel coat stage. That's step number 7 here in green on the diagram. Now the purpose of the gel coat is to provide a safety layer between the auto body filler and the fiberglass layers. And that is once you put on the body filler, you're going to be sanding it down to smooth it out. And if you are to go through the body filler and into the fiberglass fabric, that is actually a very difficult patch to make as you're smoothing out the body filler. It's much better to have a hard coat of gel coat to provide that little safety layer, so when you sand down through the body filler, you just kind of go into the gel coat and stop, and that makes for much better bodywork in the end. Now in this case, the gel coat provided another opportunity for me. I've been thinking about a paint scheme for this car, and probably 2 or 3 tones. It'll probably be a white, a green, and maybe a gray or black. And I've been running through my head about, what panels I want to paint, what color, and how that would look. So by simply buying a couple of small containers of polyester resin dye, it allowed me to apply those colors in different places and just see how it looks and come up with a final paint scheme. So here are the 3 scenarios. Let's take a look. I had white gel coat base that I was working with. So the black, I couldn't get it all the way black. I went to the maximum amount of pigment that's allowed in that base coat, and I came up with a gray at the top there. But in the final car, that will be black. But I did get a chance to try my schemes, my color schemes on this, which is basically, I'm thinking about it, as you can see, about a 3-tone color scheme. Black, green, and white. And I was able to kind of lay it out on the car to get a feeling of what that's going to do for the way the car looks. And just let me go over that, what I'm thinking here. Well, I put green in this one area right in here by the front wheel. A couple of things on this. First off, it's sort of the wrong shape. I think it should actually slant a little bit more towards the front instead of coming down quite so straight, and I think it would look better there. But in the final analysis of this, I think it just isn't working for me, mainly because you feel like you're pinched right there. That white is pinched right there, and so it pinches your vision. So I think what I'm going to try is just making that white like the surrounding areas. And we're going to try that. This is my first coat of gel coat. So it's not perfect. In fact, it's brushed on. So you're going to see some brush marks, but I'm just asking you to look past that for right now. So as I put on the second coat, I can try some other schemes as well. Here is paint scheme number 2. On paint scheme number 2, I filled in the area here and made the same color as the surrounding areas. And in the back, I painted the rear panelooms. I think I like the front section a little better without the green wheel well up front and the front wheel well in the back. I'm still deciding. I like the way it accentuates the tail, but I think the color scheme might be the opposite of what I really want. Here's paint scenario number 3. I think I've finally hit the number. On this one, I've painted the back half that light color, almost a white, and then painted the pantaloons the darker green. I think the combination really works for me. Even put the chrome rings on so you can see how the chrome looks with, this sort of color scheme. You can see how the license plate will fit down below there. Now that the gel coat is applied, it's time to move on to the last step with the auto body filler, step 8 here on the diagram. But before we start that, we need to sand that gel coat to prepare it so we get good adhesion for the body filler. And likewise, I haven't talked about this before, but between each one of these steps, as you'll see off to the right here, the diagram, you sand. Then you do another step and you sand that step. You do another step, you sand that step. So at this point, I'm getting a little tired of sanding. I've just completed the body filler phase, where I skim coated the entire body and then worked it down with lots of block sanding to create the most perfect body that I can in terms of smoothness and contours. But I know I'm still an amateur when it comes to body work. So the next step is taking it to a professional bodywork shop, paint shop, and let them finish it to make sure that they catch all my mistakes. I think it's a wise builder who knows what they're good at and what they're not good at. And I have done this to the best of my ability, but I know it could still go a step better. So let me take you for a little tour. It doesn't look that much different than the last time. If you look really close, you can see some of the green and white gel coat that's underneath the body filler where I sanded through. You can see I've got my trim down here that will hide the A-arms and dress those up. Then coming around, I've finished the sides. You can see it's very smooth. I've also added the fuel filler. This one just simply pops out, you unscrew it, and that's where the fuel will go. Very small tank in this. Of course, I've got masking tape on there. It is a finished aluminum billet piece. It's just the masking tape is on there to keep it from getting scratched. The quick release steering wheel is in there. You can also see that I brought the body panels around to the inside, and then I'll bring up the interior panels up to this edge and then on down. Coming around the back, I've finished the pantaloons. They came out really good. Exhaust pipe's going to be coming out there. Then up top here is this darker gray piece. This is the cone that goes back behind your head. Basically, this is going to be a an aluminum open mesh area to allow the heat from the engine to rise up in a chimney fashion and come out the top. Here's a sample piece of some of the screen right there that'll be going up, and it'll be sculpted to this shape. So the reason it's on there is I'm going to use this as a mold for when I shape all that screening. Right now it comes right off. So I can be working on that while the body shop is working on the rest of the body. The rear lights will go right here, the tail lights. Headlights are out as well. I blocked those off with wood because, of course, the next step after that is going to be doing molding, so it'll be able to make a mold from that. But it is ready to go to the body shop. So here's the body filler I used. I did quite a bit of research trying to find a good quality filler, body filler, that would go under the car easily, spread well, but most importantly, one that sands well. So after looking at a number of different brands and types, I ended up with this. This is Evercoat Rage Ultra. The part number is 100125. And as you can see on the label here, it says the world's best sanding body filler. And by golly, that's about all I needed to know. Did I happen to mention I hate sanding? So anyways, I found this through some reviews. I also looked at some video reviews and online reviews about it, and everyone who used it really liked it. And I got to tell you, this is some good stuff. I really thought this was a good choice. It lives up to its name. It sanded very, very well. It is a high quality filler, and I do recommend it. In fact, for my next project, I do plan to use this Rage Ultra. Now, about partway through my project, I realized, or I discovered, that there was a variation on this product called the Evercoat Rage Ultra Extra. And Extra stands for extra working time. This stuff does tend to set up pretty quickly. Even when you sort of undermix the catalyst in it, it still sets up pretty quickly. So the extra version of this gives you more working time, which is really great when you're skim coating large panels. It takes more time to do that versus little patches at a time. So for that first go around the body where you're skim coating the entire car, I would recommend getting that first gallon that you buy, the Evercoat Rage Ultra Extra, to give you that extra time. And then you maybe work down to this, just this what I have right here as well for the later coats. Now I did use, even on this pretty small vehicle, I used 3 of these. And they were just under a gallon a piece, and they were about $60 to $65 a piece. So they were probably $5 or $10 more than other brands you'll see out there. But I think it did save me a lot of time, and it was well worth the extra cost.